Good morning, Primary 5. I hope that you're all well. I've had a couple of questions about yesterday's maths where you were trying to find fractions of measurement, and I wanted to just show you something that you can create at home that can help you with that. So I'm just going to get into my notebook and I'll show you how to do that in just a second. So what I would encourage you to do is to create a table. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to use some of the measure that we've looked at so far using kilometers, meters, centimeters, millimeters, and we're going to work out what a fraction of each of these are. So at the top, I want you to write 1 whole, and then that's going to be our kind of starting point. So we're going to look at 1 whole of each. And then what I would ask you to do is, then we're looking at what is 1/2 of that measure. We'll look at some other common fractions. We'll look at 1/4 of that fraction. And I think it's important to include 1/5 and 1/10, and then perhaps even 1/20. And then it's up to you how many fractions you want to look at, but certainly those will be some of the more common fractions. So with that in mind, I'm going to create my table. Just down there. And there. Okay, so if I start with, let's looking at 1 kilometer, okay? We know that 1 kilometer is made up of 1,000 meters. So if you write that in your first column, what is 1 whole? From there, you can work out what 1/2 a kilometer would be, 1/4 of a kilometer, 1/5, 1/10, and 1/20 of a kilometer. So let's think about our first calculation. If 1 kilometer is 1,000 meters, 1/2 a kilometer is going to be 1/2 of 1,000. So, to think about that, 1/2 of 1,000, well, 1/2 of 10, if I even just cover up some of the answers, 1/2 of 10 would be 5, 1/2 of 100 would be 50, and 1/2 of 1,000 is going to be 500 meters. And then from there, if you remember I'll just draw it down here. If you remember my rule about a pizza, if you have a pizza and you've got 4 people to share it with, the easiest way that you would cut a pizza is you would cut it in half and then cut it in half again. Okay, and that's the easiest way to get quarters. So going back up here, if I'm finding out 1/4 of a kilometer, that's 1/4 of 1,000. If I half it, I end up with 500. If I half it again, I end up with 250 meters. Okay, so it's quite good to know that kind of 1/4 of 100, 1/4 of 1,000 is going to be 250 or 25. From there, 1/5, you're dividing something by 5. So dividing 1,000 by 5, if I take away 2 of the columns, I'm just dividing 10 by 5, and then that would give me 2. 100 divided by 5 would give me 20. So then 1,000 divided by 5 would give me 200 meters. Okay. And then the last columns, dividing by 10, remember everything moves down 1 place value. So my 1,000 would become 100. So 1/10 of a kilometer is 100 meters. And to find 1/20, again, just halving that again, that is 50 meters. So that is my fraction conversions for kilometers. From there, I can create other rows to my, my table. I know that 1 meter equals 100 centimeters. So it's important that you know these facts, that 1 kilometer, kilo meaning 1,000, is 1,000 meters. 1 meter is 100 centimeters. So from that, same rule again, 100, half that would give me 50 centimeters. So half of a meter is 50 centimeters. 1/4 of a meter is 25 centimeters. 1/5 of a meter, 100 divided by 5, is 20 centimeters. 1/10, 10 centimeters. And then 1/20 is 5 centimeters. So 100 divided by 20 equals 5. Another good one to use, I don't think you'll need it just now, but just to bear in mind that 1 meter also equals 1,000 millimeters. So if I create that, the next row in my column, I'm going to be looking at millimeters. So half of 1,000 we know is going to be 500 millimeters. 1/4, half it, then half it again, 250 millimeters. So 1/4 of a meter in millimeters is 250 millimeters. 1/5 is going to be 200 millimeters. 1/10 is 100 millimeters. And then 1/20 is 50 millimeters. And you can keep going with other types of converting measure into fractions. The last row that we're going to be looking at is 1 centimeter, which is equal to 10 millimeters. Okay, so knowing these facts, knowing that 10 millimeters make 1 centimeter, we can then plan our fractions of each of these. So half of a centimeter, if I convert to millimeters, is going to be 5 millimeters. 1/4, this is where some decimals may come in, would be half of 5. Remember that 5 can also be 5.0 millimeters. So then this would be 2.5 millimeters. 1/5 is going to be 2 millimeters. 1/10 is going to be 1 millimeter. And then 1/20, half of 1 millimeter. Don't forget your decimal, 0.5 millimeters. That's a very, very small measurement. I don't think we'll really need that at our level, but it's important to know these. Once you've done your measure, you could also convert other measures of length. You can convert other measures such as grams into kilograms. So if I know that 1 kilogram is equal to, remember, 1 kilometer equals 1,000 meters. So 1 kilogram is going to equal 1,000 grams. I can just do the same again, where I'm looking at the converting into fractions of an amount. So across the table here, 1,000 divided by 2 is going to be 500 grams. So half a kilogram is 500 grams. If I go further along, 1/4 is 250 grams. 1/5, 200 grams. 1/10, 100 grams. And then 1/20 of a kilo is 50 grams. Okay. Doesn't just have to be measure. Could also maybe look at a little bit of time. Okay. So 1 hour equals 60 minutes. Okay, so half an hour is half of the 60, that's 30 minutes. 1/4 of an hour, 15 minutes. Now to get a 1/5 is a little bit trickier. I'm just going to leave that one because it doesn't really need that just now. 1/10 of an hour is 6 minutes. And 1/20 of an hour is 3 minutes. So it doesn't just have to be measuring weight or measuring length. You can also use fractions to convert time as well. And that is my table. Now, if I have that somewhere, just in a notebook, just any old notebook that you use for your home learning, that's something that you can refer back to anytime that you need it. So if we're doing measure this week, you can always go back to this. Please don't forget, you can also use decimals as well as fractions. And I hope that's helped. So I hope that helped this morning. Creating a little table, whether it's for measure or a reminder of your times tables or for anything. It's just something that helps you with your learning. So take the time, create something that you can use for reference. Okay? I'm getting back to Teams. See you later. Bye.